Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. Welcome to Wicked Wednesday, where we discuss all the new comics that's coming out this week. Every Wednesday is like Christmas for us nerds because that's when the new comics come out. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. But here's some other information first. I recently dropped a new video called The Top 10 Writers in Comics Right Now. Be sure to go back and watch that. It was published on November 17th. And remember, New Comic Day is not the only thing that I do. There are other programs I do besides that. Click on that sexy bell to get notifications when there's something new, so you don't miss anything. If you're in the United States, then happy Turkey Day. Spend that time with your family and eat some grub. But for now, we're going to talk about New Comic Day. That's what you came here for. I made y'all wait for it this week, didn't I? And DC Comics is giving us Action Comics number 992. Something big is going to happen with issue 1000, so watch out. Next up is Batgirl number 17. This is the finale of the Summer of Lies story arc. DC has brought in Joshua Middleton to do the cover B variants. He got famous doing the Aquaman variants, and you can see that they were outstanding. The Batgirl variants haven't looked quite as good as the Aquaman, but still they're very interesting. Next up is The Demon, Hell is Earth, number 1 of a 6-part miniseries. And this character was created by Jack Kirby back in the 70s when he left Marvel and came over to DC. And they don't call him Jack King Kirby for nothing. He's the greatest creator in comics ever. And I do mean ever. Next up is The Flash number 35. First of all, I have an apology. Issue number 34 was showing issue number 35's cover, but this is the real issue number 35. There's a cover B variant as well shown here. I really like what's going on with The Flash. It's very interesting, a very good read. Next up is Harley Quinn number 32. This is a new storyline called Aftermath based on what happened after she ran for mayor of her hometown. As you can see, it guest stars Poison Ivy. Ivy is supposed to appear with Harley Quinn and Catwoman in a live action movie based on the comic book Gotham City Sirens. We'll see if this actually happens or not. A Harley issue is not complete without a Frank Cho variant, and we got a great one this week with her hyenas and her little wiener dog and her trusty mallet. Next up is Wonder Woman number 35. This is part 2 of the story arc called Times Past. But let's be clear, what's going to sell this is going to be this Terry Dodson awesome cover B variant. Terry makes his female characters look awesome, so sexy but yet powerful. Next up is Superman American Alien, which is going to trade paperback. This was a mini-series that was written by Max Landis. He is the son of John Landis, who's famous for movies like American Werewolf in London, A. Murphy's Coming to America, and the long-form video of Thriller by Michael Jackson. But nepotism didn't get Max work. He's really, really good. He's a talented writer. This is a very refreshing new take on Superman. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be Doomsday Clock number 1 of a 12-part miniseries. And the architect of this is Jeff Johns. He's a writer over at DC who's been promoted to chairman of the movie division of DC. So he's basically the equivalent of Kevin Feige now, who's a head guy over in the MCU. In 2016, with the launch of Rebirth, they already teased that the Watchment universe created by Alan Moore is going to clash with the mainstream DC universe. So you want to see Superman fight Dr. Manhattan for the first time in continuity. That is a genius move, and all I gotta say is thank you, sir. Can I have another? I expect a pretty hefty print run on this, but I expect for this to be a classic for years to come in the DC universe. So grab one of these. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to, and that's going to be the all-new Wolverine number 27. This is a team up of the son and the daughter of the original Wolverine teaming up. This is part 3 of the Weapons of X storyline. Next up is Black Panther number 167, which is drawn by the Eisner-nominated Brian Stelfreeze. There's also going to be the Jenny Frison variants, which looks like this time around. It's a connecting cover. She was doing cover B variants for Wonder Woman. Now she's doing it with Black Panther. Next up is Cable number 150, which is going to a second print. This is Rob Liefeld doing a swipe of his own work. Back in 1990, he was the co-creator of Cable, who first appeared in New Mutants number 87, issuing the Dark Age in comics. I gotta give up to Rob though. He's improved as an artist over time, so if you can see the before and the after. Issue number 151 is also out. It's part 2 of the Newer Mutants storyline, in which an ancient group of mutants called the Externals are being killed off. But Cable is here to save the day. Next up is going to be the Mighty Thor number 700, which is going to a second print, which is a variant. It's a gorgeous one, and it is a swipe. We'll get back to that in just a second. This is written by Jason Aaron, who I named the best writer in comics right now. As for the swipe, it's inspired by this piece of art right here showing Virgin Mary and Jesus. You get the idea if you can see them side by side. That's a pretty good swipe, don't you think? Next up is Moon Girl number 25, and despite low sales, Marvel is sticking with this character. They're going to grow her organically for a new audience that grows up with the character. As you can see, she's going to team up the Fantastic Four here. Well, two of them anyway. They also have a cover Beast White, looks like this, which is channeling Fantastic Four issue number 49 from the Silver Age, which was the first full appearance of Galactus. It's a must-have for homage swipe variant junkies. I could dig it. Next up is the Silver Sable number 36. Marvel is continuing the old numbering, so even though this character hasn't been around for a while, this is basically an issue number 1. I really like that cover, and the trading card variant shown here is also impressive. Unfortunately, I don't think there's room for a Silver Sable comic. I just don't believe that she's a lead character. Right now, I feel Marvel is just throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks. If you do like Silver Sable, her first appearance is in Amazing Spider-Man number 265 when Spidey was rocking the black suit. I like the character, I dislike her as a supporting character and not a lead. Next up is Star Wars number 39. I feel that Marvel slapped together a lot of stuff and puts it out there, but with their Star Wars books, they really bring the quality, especially on the action figure variants. They've used all the main characters in these so far, so they're really digging deep into finding these D-list characters at this point, but they still look good. Next up is Spider-Gwen number 25, and this is a second print. It's the first full appearance of Gwenom. I've said it a million times, I'm tired of the mashups, but if this is your thing, go ahead and get it because it does look good. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Motor Girl number 10, and this is the finale and the final issue from Abstract Studios. It's the story of a female veteran who owns a junkyard which gets visited by aliens. If you missed on this, you might want to pick up the trade paperback when it comes out pretty soon. Next up is Doppelganger number 1 from Alternate Press. They are printing on traditional newsprint, so their comics only retail for $1.50, so they're worth checking out since they're cheap. And they have some ambitious sci-fi titles like this. Next up is Apocalypse Girl number 1 from Amigo Comics. It's the story of a teenage girl who has to deal with regular teenage problems, but the end of the world happens, and she has to cope with bloodthirsty demons and a 4,000-year-old critical undead mom. That sounds like offbeat sci-fi, and with Amigo's very low print runs, this could be a surprise hit. Next up is Cave Woman Quiver number 1 from Emerald Productions. They've had a lot of success with these campy TNA comics. They are what they are. If you enjoy them, go ahead and pick it up. Next up is Betty and Veronica, Vixens number 1 from Archie Comics. This is promising to be an ongoing series with them with a tougher edge. There'll be 3 different covers, but the one everyone's going to want is going to be the Fiona Staples cover C variant shown here. Fiona made my list of one of the top 10 female artists in comics, and she's the co-creator and artist of Saga, which has won a gazillion Eisners. Fiona doesn't do too many outside covers for other companies, so this is pretty special. Next up, let's see what Image Comics is up to. They always deliver. It's going to be Gasolina number 3. It's a story of a newlywed couple that travels to the south of the border and deals with Mexican drug cartels. Next up is God Complex number 1, which is going to a second printing. It's told in the future where a digital forensics investigator must solve the crime of 3 bizarre murders. Issue number 2 is also dropping this week. I like the way this is drawn. The premise is very strong. It's a murder whodunit, police procedural, futuristic sci-fi. If they take their time building the universe, and if this comes out on time, this could be a sleeper hit. And that issue number 1 going to a second print is a good sign that it was well received. Next up is Genius number 4 of a 5-part miniseries. It's the story of an African-American teenage girl who is a military genius. She's basically given immunity for her uprising that she started in South Central LA. In exchange, she'll work for the government, and they sent her down south to Mexico, just like in Gasolina, to bust up some drug cartels. These 2 titles are not related. It's just a coincidence they both deal with drug cartels down in Mexico. There's a cover B Witchblade inspired variant shown here as well. Next up is Ghost Station number 4 of a 4-part miniseries. So this is the finale of this stage of the story of Babushka. She's a female super spy, so think Black Widow, something like that. Next up is Redneck number 7, and this is the storyline called The Eyes Upon You. It's about a family of cattle herders in East Texas that have been exposed as vampires. It's written by Donny Cates, who made my top 20 of one of the best writers in comics today. Next up is Void Trip number 1 of a 5-part miniseries, and this is basically a space slacker comic. It reads like this. Anna and Gabe are the last two humans in the galaxy. They're low on supplies and they're trying to make it to a space euphoria, which basically is a hippie paradise planet that's loaded with psychedelic space fruit. This could be really, really good, or it could be really, really bad, depending on how they handle it. I'll check it out. That's it for Image, but we still got more indies, including Disney's Big Hero 6. Heroes San Francisco one-shot. Hey, I love the movie, and there's going to be a television series on Disney XD, so this comic is going to tie into that. The publisher here is Joe Books. More adventures of Baymax and Hero. I'm down for that. Next up is Maxwell's Demons, #1 from Vault Comics. It's about a 10-year-old boy who may have the greatest mind the world has ever known, but he's adventuring distant worlds through a makeshift multiversal closet door. Also from Vault is Alien Bounty Hunter #1, which is going to a second print. What he does is in the name of the comic. Next up is Long Lost #1 from Scout Comics. This has some buzz to it because it's been sold out everywhere I've looked. It's described as Stranger Things meets Ghost World, where two estranged sisters go back to their small southern hometown to unlock some disturbing mysteries. Next up is Dr. Radar #1 from Titan Comics. This takes place in Paris in 1920, where a gentleman detective must play a deadly game with a criminal mastermind named Dr. Radar. If you like pulp noir, then this is for you. Next up is Exo Man of War #9 from Valiant Comics. This is written by Matt Kent, who made my list of one of the top 20 writers right now. And there's very few books that are written and drawn as well as this. It's going to come with 5 different covers. And then there's President Pence from Antarctic Press. These Trump-related comics have been selling very well for a lot of companies, so you're going to see more and more of these coming out. You know the drill. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, give it a thumbs up, and share these videos on social media so others learn about Comic Power. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net. and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.